Well, hello everybody. Welcome to my channel this evening. Let me just turn off a few things real quick. Thank you for joining me. It's going to be fun tonight. Let me just give people a second to join in. Thank you to those of you that have popped in. You are you, Stephanie. Thanks for joining tonight. So I have an kind of an objective for tonight, and I have certain things that I want to go through, and some examples that I'm going to give, and then I have a very special guest joining this evening, LYNN, my friend. She is going to talk to us about dragons and her own experience with animal communication, whether it's through her own animals, wildlife, or her own clients doing sessions and animals coming through. So I really felt this desire to do this evening because I feel like a lot of people are struggling right now to navigate challenges in their life for obvious reasons. We're all dealing with loneliness, dis-ease, uncertainty, frustration, and a plethora of other emotions. Some of us are dealing with financial restraints, trying to find jobs, fights between our family members and friends, and losing friends, or feeling very alone. And our animals are here to guide us, but they're not invincible either. So they're subjected to dis-ease just like we are. But I want to explain how it works with them and why. So there's a lot of different things. Give me 1 second. Hold on a second. Let me turn this alarm off. Okay. So before I begin, I want to give a few announcements. So things that are coming up. I am excited to announce that my 5th book is coming out in 2025. It's called Healing the Human and Animal Bond, and it's all about animals, soul contracts. What are they here to do with us? What are we here to do with them? How are they supporting us? How are we supporting them? And my 20 plus years of experience working with animals, both in the medical field, but also through animal communication. I'm going to share stories and messages from the animal kingdom. I'm talking about sacred species. I'm talking about, oh my God, so many amazing things. I'm really excited. Actually, I think I'm more excited about this book than any book I've ever done, because I think this one is more of a passion project for me. So that's coming up sometime, probably realistically spring to early summer of next year, just because it's a massive undertaking for me to put all of this together. Conferences and retreats coming up. So we have a retreat coming up. I know that I announced with Leah Ray and Sarah Breskman Cosme about a month ago that we're going to do a retreat together. For scheduling issues and conflicts, we're going to do the retreat, but we've added some more people to it. And I don't want to announce it here by myself. I'm going to wait until the rest of us are together. So it is still happening, but we're likely pushing it back until the end of February or middle of February. Still likely to be, most likely it will be in Jupiter, Florida. And more details are to come, I promise, as soon as, excuse me, I'm still recovering from my cold. More details to come as soon as I have them, I promise. And we will literally make an announcement and post it everywhere. I also have 2 conferences confirmed and 4 likely, at least that I know of right now, for next year. So the 2 that I know for sure, I'll talk about real quick. I'll be presenting for the 3rd year in a row at the Journey to Truth conference coming up in May in Grafton, Illinois. My favorite conference. I can't recommend it enough. It is amazing. Whether you're a presenter or not, I've had some of the best times and conversation at this conference. It's absolutely a family get together, and it feels like that. It feels like people you've known your whole life. I highly recommend coming. It's 5 days, don't quote me. And they just put the tickets on sale, so I highly recommend you guys check that out. They also stream those live for you, so if you can't make it, you can stream it. And then I will be doing, for the 2nd year, the Full Disclosure Now conference in St. Pete in July of 2025. I have several others that I'm working out the kinks for and the dates, and I'll notify you guys when I have details on that. Okay, so Abby Lynn will be joining us in a little bit. But first, I want to tell you what I want to talk about tonight, and then we'll open it up for some questions later. So the main ones that I wrote down, because I feel like these are the questions that are coming up the most, and I feel that I need to talk about tonight. So number one, I'm going to talk about if animals can take on our stress and illness. And this could be the collective. I'm talking wild animals, zoo animals, and domesticated animals. I do not like using the word pets. I really try to use any other word but that. So I usually say animal companions, our animal family, furry family, although I have a naked cat, so it's hard to say furry family. But anyways, nevertheless, can animals take on our stress and illness? I want to talk about 3D interference. You guys know that, those of you that know me, I talk a lot about 3D interference. So are our animals subjective to 3D interference? Can they feel it? Are they targeted? Can they be targeted? I want to talk about where animals come from, where do their souls come from, and how do they connect with us, and their soul contracts that we have with them. And then just general, how can we support our animals? What are some signs that they're trying to cope? What are some signs of them what are they trying to tell us? And also, how can we communicate with them? Just anybody, because I promise you 100% of 100% of people can communicate with their pets. And I guarantee you are doing that every day on a subtle level that you're not realizing. So you can communicate with your pets. It oftentimes comes in ways that you're not expecting or you're not noticing. So I want to talk about that a little bit towards the end. So this is a lot I need to get through. And when Abby comes on, I really want her to talk about some things too. So without further ado, and for those of you who may be popping in and you don't know me, before I did what I do now with soul readings and author and the founder of Aramis Creative Learning Center, I worked in the veterinary field since the time I was junior in high school all the way for like 20 plus years. So I worked in general practice. I worked in an exotic center. I worked in the surgery center in the ICU. I did ICU probably the longest, in critical care, surgery. I worked at the zoo for 10 years. So I've worked with, and some wildlife, minimal wildlife, and some horses as well. So I've done a lot. I've worked with a lot of animals, like a vast amount of species, lots of different breeds of dogs and cats. So throughout that time, I've gathered a really large amount of information of caring for animals, animal behavior, how to communicate. And I did animal communication for many years, animal healing and energy, Reiki. I learned Reiki for pets. I never had intended to work on people. You guys know that. And for those of you that don't, I talk about that in a lot of my previous videos. So that's kind of where I'm getting this information from, in case you're wondering where the heck I know all this stuff from. Okay. Can animals take our illness? Yes. And so I'm going to overlap in some of these question and answers because it does overlap. So it kind of goes hand in hand with their soul contracts. So first of all, there's this misconception, and I say that loosely because you guys know me pretty well. Most of you have been watching me for a while. I also don't like to use the word followers. I don't like that word either. Though you guys have been with me for a while, and I've talked about how I grew up being told that animals are less than us, and they have to they're like souls going up the evolutionary chain. And so in order to become human, because it's such a high and mighty thing to do, you need to first be a rock and then maybe a grasshopper. And then you work your way up. And then pets would be like the final thing to become a human. And I never resonated with that. Now, is there an absolute truth and certainty to anything? Absolutely not. In some reality, in some dimension, perhaps that's true. And perhaps part of that is true. And perhaps lots of things are true. But it never really resonated with me because I just felt like, how can animals give such unconditional love and be so incredible? And they're beneath us. It just didn't resonate with me. And because of the traumas that I went through as a child, animals were my only friends for a long time. I know that sounds really sad, and I've worked through my inner child healing, a lot of it anyways. And I have healed from a lot of that, but you know what? Everything happens for a reason. And I know I was with my animals, or one of my animals, Chelsea, my German Shepherd, but other animals that I have had, because they were there for me to help support me during experiences that I needed to have in order to do what I do now. So everything always leads to something greater. But through that process, it helps solidify my knowing, my innate knowing that animals are not less than us. And oftentimes they are ascended masters. Oftentimes they are evolved beings, and they come in a higher density of consciousness. Now, that doesn't always relay when they are in their form, because when, just like humans, we could be an ascended master and we could be very wise. And then we come into this veil of forgetfulness and this lower density field in this human body, and we forget who we are, we forget what to do, and then we can become, as a result of our environment, not the best person. Does that mean that my soul is bad? Does that mean my soul is not wise? Not necessarily. I'm a product of my environment, or I am a product of integration with a human body that's limited, and a human brain, and the consciousness. And we know that we have been programmed and genetically manipulated or modified over centuries of time to make us less knowing, and to dull our senses and to deactivate that God sense within us, that knowing. Still have the density of consciousness. The issue is that they come into these primal states of being. You know, they come in and they are ravenously hungry, maybe if they're a wild animal, and they might attack and kill a human, you know, if their life depended on it. Dogs, same thing with a dog. If they feel threatened, their instinct is to bite somebody. So does that mean that their soul is no longer ascended or an enlightened being? No, absolutely not. It just means that they are succumbing to the primal, natural state of being, of what they have incarnated into. But the caveat to that is that they really truly resonate for the most part. I never say anything with 100% certainty. There's always, with anything we talk about, no matter what subject, there's always but there's also this, or the potential of this. So not 100%, but a majority of animals reside in the fifth density of consciousness and higher, and they're really more plugged into the fifth dimension as well. So our animals, because of that, they are, and I'm not ignoring you. I want to say thank you for everybody that's leaving comments. I appreciate you, but I am not I don't have the ability to put these posts up and thank you guys at the same time as my thoughts. Otherwise, I get distracted, which I just did. I just wanted to acknowledge you guys. So thank you. And thank you for those of you that are watching right now. I appreciate you. So because of where their density of consciousness is and where they're really plugged into, they have the innate ability, just like we do, but they're more connected to it. They have the innate ability to absorb our illness, because illness, just like emotions and anything else, has a frequency connected to it. That's why dogs that are trained to notify their companion when they're about to have a seizure. Why is that? Some say that there's a smell that they give off, but ultimately it's a frequency. It's a very subtle frequency that the person gives off, and the dog is attuned to that frequency. It's been trained to be attuned to that frequency, and they can notify the person right before. So animals have this innate ability to tune in energetically way more than we have the capacity to right now, because of our modification and programming and suppression. So there's a lot of reasons that we've lost that. We've always had it, and it's just dormant. It just needs to be activated again. But they haven't lost that. It's a natural ability. So if I have illness in my body, I will give off the frequency of something that is not right. So whether it's kidney disease, heart disease, high blood pressure, tachycardia, some sort of arrhythmia, anything, even as subtle as period cramps for women, or a headache or something like that. Animals can pick up on that. They can also pick up on the frequencies of emotions. So if you come home from work one day and you are just really agitated and at an all-time low, and maybe a little bit mad about something, you're giving off several frequencies and they're picking up on those. So their instincts are twofold. One, I want to take this from my companion because I can, and I unconditionally love and support that person, and I will just do it naturally without even thinking about it. They don't think like we do, in the sense, do I want to help my mom today? Should I? She didn't give me that treat this morning, so maybe I'm not gonna help her. No, they don't think like that. So they will instinctively and intentionally and willingly start to absorb the frequencies, regardless of if it's illness or emotion or what it is. I don't even think that they can really discern necessarily, unless they're trained, what it is, but they know it's not good. They know that we need assistance. So they do that from us. They will absorb our illness and our frequencies. Now, if they have to do that a lot, then they get sick too. So their body has the ability, as conduits of energy, to absorb the frequencies every single day, multiple times a day. And by the way, they can do this for us while they're sleeping at home and we are at work. They are still with us. There's a reason why animals sleep a lot too, because they work in the astral just like we do. So they are in the astral plane following us. They are with us all day long. That's why they can tell when we're 3 blocks away and they get up and someone's like, oh my God, he ran to the door. He knew you were coming. Oh, of course he's with you in the car riding home. They're with us a lot of the time. They're so much more connected. So they're going to absorb our illness for us willingly and effortlessly, just by being in our presence. But the other ways that they do that is through touch. So they'll find a way. When I was sick recently, I had 2 dogs and my cat with me all week, wouldn't leave my side. So my Doberman had his head on me at all times, and I had a respiratory kind of issue. I don't want to say infection, but he just rested his long shark nose on me at all times. He had to be touching me consistently, and Dobermans use their nose as an appendage practically. So he'd be like nudging my arm out to push out, to get where he needed to go. My cat would be like in between my arms here, right by my side. My Golden was on the floor next to me because that's where she likes to lay, right by my bed on my side here. So they'll touch you. Cats will purr. They'll do the muffins. So they'll they give off a vibration when they purr. That is a frequency of healing. Dogs will through touch, they will absorb. So they'll put their paw on you. They'll find a way to just sit next to you, to spoon with you, to lick you, to what is it called? Like sucking. Sometimes people call it corn cobbing or something like that, but they'll do that. There are a lot of ways that our animals, through touch, any sort of contact, it doesn't matter what it is, licking, they will absorb faster and easier that way. But again, they don't have to. So do animals absorb our illness? Absolutely. They can absorb our stress. They know when to stay away from us, because maybe, someone came home and they're really angry and they're like, okay, well, this is not a good time. I think I'll stay back. Some of them are a little bit more keen and tuned in to the subtle cues. And then other dogs, depending on the breed, it's a natural instinct for them. No matter what, they don't care. Like my Doberman could care less if you're angry, screaming, crying, happy, whatever. His instinct, because of his breed, is I'm going to be by your side and I'm going to annoy you. I don't care if you don't like it. I will die doing this. And if you don't let me, I'm going to lose my mind. Where, the Golden Retriever, that breed, is like, mom looks a little angry right now. I think I'm just going to chill over here and support her from afar. And when she seems like her energy lightens up a little bit, I'll come closer and kind of feel her out. And if she feels good, or she gives me that little smile or whatever, then she'll come wagging her tail. So, and everything in between. And so breeds do matter, because there's that instinct that I talked about, that primal instinct. Animals, the behavior does matter based on their breed, because it's what they're bred to do. So Dobermans and working dogs specifically are working dogs. So it's ingrained in their DNA. They have to protect. They have to be doing something. They can't sit still. And it might drive you crazy because you're like, I'm fine. They hear things that we don't hear. They sense things that we don't sense. And it could be not ghosts or entities and things like that I don't necessarily even see. So they're working 24/7. So no wonder they're also sleeping a lot, because they got to rejuvenate and recharge, and they ground us, just by their presence. They're so much more connected to a higher frequency that they ground us so easily. The other aspect of this is hard to explain, and people don't want to hear it, but I have to talk about this. Sometimes our animals will willingly take on our illness so that we live. It happens more than you think. And sometimes the illness mirrors what we have or didn't know we had or have. And then sometimes it just manifests in a different way for them. I'll give you an example. Somebody gets cancer anywhere in their body. Doesn't have to be the same type of cancer. And the next thing you know, your dog, you're going through chemo, you had radiation, maybe you're in the healing stage, maybe you're still getting all of those treatments. Your animal this whole time has been absorbing the toxins of those chemo meds, the radiation, all of that. They're absorbing that for you willingly. Don't feel bad. Remind me to go back to that. That's the most important thing about what I have to say tonight. So someone make sure I go back to this statement. We have to go back to not feeling guilty. So this animal cat or dog that spends the most time with you will end up getting cancer, because they're literally pulling the cancer into their body, and then they get the cancer and then they die, most of the time on purpose. Why would anybody want to volunteer to die on purpose? Because that is the soul contract you had. Perhaps there was a knowing or something in your contract, in your blueprint of coming here, that you were going to get cancer, or could have been, or it was an SOS and then cancer popped up and you weren't meant to die. So a soul member of your family said, I'll volunteer and I'll come in for a brief period. And that you might only have the animal for 6 months or a year, or maybe the dog that you've had for 10 years says, oh my gosh, I'm going to take this cancer from her or him because he's not going to make it if I don't. And then they selflessly, because they know that this isn't it for them. This is just a body. They know what our ancestors know and what they've been trying to tell us. This is just a body right now. Now, of course, if you don't believe in reincarnation or you don't believe in it, I can understand that. But they know that this is just a body. They're like, let me get cancer. Let me riddle this body with cancer, because it's just going to go and be placed into the earth and be buried. And then it will transmute and now I've saved your life. So sometimes they do need to pass away, and it's part of the deal, and they want to, and they willingly do that so that we can live. So the best way for you not to let them die in vain is to release any guilt. Because if you're thinking right now, oh my God, that happened to me, or I know somebody that happened to, and you're having an aha moment right now, please, the number one thing that I am told is release the guilt. Because if you don't, you are going to get that. And the animal died for nothing, because then they're going to have to come back again and do it all over again. Or another animal is going to have to pick up your illness, or you will just learn the lesson of the illness and then you may not survive. So there's lots of different, and it's not punishment. No one's like, oh, shame on you, you're getting cancer again. It's never looked at that way. So hopefully I didn't come across like you're being punished or reprimanded for not believing. But the best thing that you can do is thank them and say, oh, I'm so lucky, and now I have a second chance. And understand that they came into your life for that purpose, or they left for that purpose for you. So just be in gratitude and say, thank you so much. And you can shift that guilt to motivation of, okay, I'm going to do better now. What was I resisting before that I can heal from now, so that I don't need another animal to come in and sacrifice themselves for me. I've learned the lesson, and I'm open to now another animal coming into my life and now being a companion and a support, and I'll do better. So that's one way. So try to release the guilt. I'll talk about that a little bit more in the end. But the other thing I want to say, I can't possibly say everything tonight. So that's why I'm writing a book. I just trying to give the cliff notes here. The other thing is they don't always mirror our illness. So let's say that woman or man gets cancer. They might have a heart attack. They might be quick. You might come home one day and they've passed, and there's no explanation. It doesn't make sense. They've been healthy. How did they pass so quickly? Well, perhaps that animal chose to quickly take everything out of you, and it took their life. quickly. So it doesn't have to be kidney disease to kidney disease or brain tumor to brain tumor, if that makes sense. Let me know if I'm making sense to you guys. And so there's a variation. It's really hard to speak in alls because there's so much variety of potentials. So animals can and do take our stress. They do take our illness. Now, what we could do for our animals to lessen the burden that they have on us is to really focus on our own wellness and prioritizing the time and space and energy to ourselves. And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. You don't need to go spend a lot of money on supplements and expensive food and rife machines and red light therapy. You don't have to necessarily do all of those things, although those are great and they are complementary. But as our ancestors know, it doesn't cost anything to really focus on releasing negative thought, rewiring our mindset, what we focus our energy on, how we react to things, forgiving people, releasing judgment. There are many different ways that we can heal, release our own junk through breath, meditation, exercise, many different ways through creative outlet. So we release on our own daily, every single day, so that they don't have to, or they don't have to do it as much, if that makes sense. So we're just helping them help us. Help me, help you, help me. So that's a big one. Someone said something about seizures. Yes, so seizures is a big one. Seizures, collapsing, cancers, long drawn out illnesses and things like that, and like chronic issues, could be a combination. It could be all the things I just mentioned, but we cannot discount and forget about the 3D interference, which is what I want to talk about next. So when I talk about 3D interference, I think most of you know that is a variety of things. I have a whole section in my book, Starseeds and the Great Awakening, where I talk about it. There are too numerous to count, but examples of 3D interference is the black box technology, where there's negative affirmations and different technologies to emit frequencies through satellite, lots of different ways to emit frequencies of negative affirmation, and also tones and vibrations that affect our energy to suppress us, bring us down, and create negative thought, and apprehension and worry and guilt and shame and all of these things. It keeps us low. It can cause suicidal thoughts and depression, anxiety, all these things. There are also portals within the mirrors, the TVs. I've talked about that technology. I said black box technology. I was wrong. I just realized I said it wrong. Black box technology is what I just mentioned. Voice of God technology is the other one, I think. I think I said it wrong before, but I can't remember. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. In the that I've talked about in my books, and you guys know, yes. So animals are susceptible to radiation, to EMF frequencies, to entities messing with them. I mean, they can get attachments. It's more on the rare side, and it's generally dogs, but it's not in the same way that we get attachments. They actually can go through our auric field through cracks and vulnerabilities and our state of mind and vibration. Animals, it works differently. They have a strong auric field, but they antagonize them. So they will bully them, annoy them, just bombard them consistently. They'll do it to dogs mostly because dogs are not as in tune. But cats are more high vibrational and they're more connected to the astral. So they're less scared, intimidated. They don't care. Like, they're bullies. Cats are bullies. They can be bullies. They're amazing. They're bullies for a reason. They're badass, like they don't take anything and they'll clear out the house. So cats less than dogs, but yes, cats can react to 3D interference just like we can. So they need to be grounded. They need good food. The toxins in the food, the air, all the things that affect us can also affect them. So the chronic illnesses that they get can be a combination of them taking on our stuff and lovingly and unconditionally just taking. But then they've got, they are fed really bad food, or the waters they're drinking, tap water that's filled with all this stuff. I don't want to use keywords. they're breathing in the same toxins in the air and all the, and the mold in our homes and all of these things, of course, that can cause illness too. So there are actual physical reasons that pets get sick. So we can use our Rife machines on them. We can let them out in the sunlight. They need sun too. Animals love to go out and sunbathe. Try to give them the best food. If you can't afford it, you can make it. And there's lots of recipes. There's lots of ways to do that. And give them lots of love and appreciation and gratitude. Sometimes we're so tired and we come home and our animals, all they want to do is be with us and love us and be up in our face. And sometimes we're like, oh, get away, get away. And then they don't feel necessarily in the way that we feel, like upset about it. I'm not coming up with the right words, but like we would get hurt by it. There's another word I can't think of right now. They don't necessarily feel hurt by it, but it can affect them, so try to give them as much love and gratitude and attention as that they possibly can. Animals are domesticated. I just want to say this. Domesticated for a reason. So over time, they have come into our homes. Don't forget, like these commercials where they say like the animals are, like the wolves and the wild cats. Yeah, they were at one point, but just like us, we've been modified for many thousands of years. So have animals, not thousands of years. Well, actually thousands of years. So our animals are domesticated. So like they want to sleep on the bed or they want super comfy blankies and things like that. So, treat them like you treat your family. And I know that some people won't agree with that, but they are domesticated. And now they're in their epigenetics. They are relating to those necessities. They become necessities for them. So now the strollers, I don't want to get started on that, but the strollers is a little bit that takes it too far when people are walking around on the strollers with the beds. That's a little bit, we're not going to go there right now. But anyways, just remember that they are domesticated. So they have changed. So you can't really look at your dog as a wolf. I'm sorry. You can't look at your cat as a tiger. They have changed over the years and they have really become our companions for a reason. Real quick before I let Abby's going to join us in a second. Can they come from different places? Absolutely. Animal souls, the souls of the animals, both wildlife and domestic animals, come from a plethora of places. Andromeda, Pleiades, they come from Lyra, they come from Sirius, they come from all over the galaxies, all over the multiverse. Some of them are indigenous to the planet. Many of the wildlife species, like the oversouls of large herds of animals, aren't individual souls, although a soul can choose. I want to experience a life as an elephant. Well, of course you can be an elephant, even though you're part of a herd. But a majority of the time, those large groups of herds are actually oversouls of groups of beings that want to experience what in that herd of that type of species that can be from anywhere. But a lot of times they are here from the moment that Earth or Gaia was conceived from Tiamat, and they became the guardians of this planet and agreed to stay here and fractaled themselves off and created the wildlife that's here, but they're really residing more in the fifth dimension. So our animals oftentimes, if not always, are our soul family. So they are, if you're Andromedan, not everybody is only Andromedan, but let's say you resonate mostly with Andromeda and you have a lot of life, so you have a large soul family from Andromeda. That cat of yours or dog of yours it could be from Andromeda. It's an Andromedan soul, or it's a soul that you've had another lifetime with. Maybe it was your sister or brother in an Earth life. So they could be just about anything from anywhere. Not all cats are from Lyra, but a lot of them are. Some cats come from Sirius. Some cats come from Andromeda. Some cats come from Arcturus. They come from everywhere. So that is one misconception. So they come from different places. And the reason that they're here is to be with you or your family. So there are family dogs that are really with the whole group. They're like the pack animals. And then there are some that gravitate to one individual person because they know each other and they need that person. Like my Doberman is my husband's dog. We always say my husband has special needs. I love him so much. And that's his special needs dog. Obviously, I'm joking. And my cat Loki is a Lyran being, and he's here to be with me. and one of my sons. So the animals will choose. It's not their favorites. It just means that they're on the same resonance as you for a reason. If there are animals that are in multiple households, let's say animals get adopted. I get this question a lot. Well, if a family had this dog for 5 years and then we adopted the same dog, is it the same soul? Yes and no. If you all know each other, even though you might be in different communities and not ever cross paths in this life, that soul of that particular pet could have a soul contract with both of you guys, and you all actually know each other. But also, just like we have walk-ins and reverse walk-ins, animals can easily have souls come in and out of the body. So one soul might have been with that dog for the first 5 years. When they go to the other family, that soul leaves the body, another soul comes through. You can also have a soul of an animal that passes and then joins, a fractal of it joins the soul of another pet that's in your house, so that they can hang out a little bit longer. So you might say, oh, my dog is acting like the other dog that just passed away. That's so weird. Well, that dog probably either is hanging out and merging with that dog for a little bit to hang out with you guys, or something similar to that. All right, there's so much more I want to say, but I'm super excited and I'm distracted because my friend Abby's in the waiting area. So I'm just going to let you in and we're just going to keep talking. Hi, Abby.
Hi, Sherri. Thank you so much for having me on. I've literally been sitting here watching the whole time, holding my little puppy, Luna.
We both have a Luna.
We do. You know what, though? We rarely actually call her Luna. She's just Una. We just call her Una all the time.
I love the pet names for our animals. We call Luna Loons Magoons, Looney Tunes. Like there's so many names that we give our pets. It's so funny.
So many names.
Yeah. Well, I am so honored to have you, Abby, and I invited Abby on just so everyone knows because one, I respect her greatly, and we're friends, and I know that you have some incredible stories. Well, dragons popped in my head first, but I don't want, you can talk about anything, but I know Abby works with dragons a lot, and I wanted you to talk about your experience with dragons, but just anything you want to talk about with animals, and we'll just kind of go from there. There's so much to say.
There's so much to say. I love that you're having this show. During probably the most, because I know that the world is in a state of influx, right? It has been for a number of years. And whenever I'm feeling, or I would feel a bit overwhelmed, I would always go outside and watch the animals because I wanted to see how they were reacting to the energy. And it always calmed me down because I would, for instance, well, they're still doing their thing. They have no idea of these human problems. They're still mating and producing babies and enjoying life to the fullest. And I should probably be doing that as well. So I always love observing animals, and that helps me to kind of just ground back into the reality and not, get too caught up into the illusion. But I would love to say this: the animal communication is so important. And it's interesting because each of our animals can communicate in a very different way, depending on their soul level. So Una she's actually, my dog WallE came right back to us. WallE had passed from cancer, and he had a beautiful long life with us, but it was, he passed from cancer. And it was maybe about 4 months later. 4 months later, my husband said, I think, maybe we should get a puppy. What do you think about this one? And he already had Luna picked out. And the minute I looked at the photo, because I do photograph reads, right? I just look right into the eye. And I looked in, I go, oh my God, it's WallE. I saw him, and I'm like, that's WallE. And what's so interesting is WallE had some underlying health issues when he was with us, just like chronic ear infections and skin itching. And we're always kind of working on it. But I always felt that he kind of had a, not that great of a, like he was always irritated by something. And I had guilt that why could not we ever get to the root of that? And what's so interesting is Una, she has the same health. She started popping up even as a puppy, ear itchy, So I looked at my husband. I said, absolutely not. We are clearing this life. Like, we are making it as miserable and pain free as possible. I don't care how much it costs.
Yeah.
And so I almost feel that it is a way to kind of redo for WallE, but also, WallE is just so attached to our family. I love having him here. But I want to bring up the communication, because so Una, her thought strands are in full, complete sentences.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can speak a complex sentence structure with her, and she understands exactly what I'm saying. Now we have another puppy, Gus, and her thought pattern. And it's so funny, because we named her Soul, but when you feel and their personality, she is Gus from the Cinderella cartoon.
I love Gus. Yes.
Love Gus, but she is a Gus. And so like Una, I can say, Una, go get your Bumblebee toy, and then bring it back to mommy, and let's play fetch. And so she will immediately go grab it out of her toy box. She knows Bumblebee toy, brings it back. With Gus, I'll like, Gus toy throw, or Gus potty outside. Like, it's just, I do one word and she can understand that. But if I were to do a complex sentence structure with her, she's just like,
yeah. They're like learning our language, just like, can you go slow?
yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will. So I had this story. I was in an office building. This is my first office that I had. And I was done with sessions. I came out, and this new guy had moved in, and he had brought his brand new dog with him. And it was this beautiful Great Pyrenees.
I love that.
And I love the giant breeds. I always had old English Mastiffs. So this Pyrenees comes bounding out of this office, and I'm sitting in this chair, and he comes bounding up, and I heard clear as day, "Hi, I'm Walter," like, just so clearly. And I had not realized at that time, I had not even spoken to the man yet. And I'm petting this dog who's like in my lap. I'm like, "Of course your name's Walter. You look just like a Walter." And I'm petting him. And the guy goes, his name's not Walter. And I'm like, "Well, I'm pretty sure it is."
That's what he called himself.
Well, and the guy said, he goes, "But I had to be honest, he's actually a rescue. I just got him a month ago, and I don't know what he was like, maybe that was his prior name."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it could be the soul name. Sometimes these souls identify as like their human name. I'm Walter, I'm whatever, it could be that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I believe in that. And I love what you've been saying about how animals will either, take on your illness. And especially for, so many of us, in the audience and yourself, we're doing so much energy work sometimes that we don't even realize that we're doing, but they're come in and their energy is shielding us when we're maybe feeling depleted, or maybe that, they can see into our auric field, and they're coming in and almost protecting that.
Yeah. I mean, there are times where my pets have to be in the room. They'll literally break down the door when I'm working with my clients. I don't always let them because they make so much noise. But my golden is always in my room with me when I do sessions. My cat will howl until I open the door. And I realize, and I could tell during that session, once I start, I'm like, oh, wow, like I needed that extra protection or whatever it was. So they know, and they do that especially now that a lot of people work from home and on Zoom. They'll be with us and they protect us. But like I said before, like they would actually go and they'd be in the car and they'd be in your office at work. But now they can just do it right in the physical, and they much prefer that, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, none of my clients knew for years that all of my readings over Zoom, I had a 160-pound Mastiff on my feet. And I loved it. I mean, and it was so funny. She always just instinctually knew, mom's going on the computer. She's getting ready to do a reading. And she would just collapse on top of my feet, and she would not move. Sometimes for 2 hours in a reading, would not move.
Yeah, that's crazy. And that bit about reincarnation is important too. I get that question a lot. Do animals reincarnate? And yes, absolutely. And I think they're doing it more now than ever before. So my Sphinx is a reincarnation of the one that I had, the boy that I had, you know, I don't know, 20 years ago at this point. And then there about a 5-year period went by, and then he came back again. And I knew he was coming. And the same thing with you. He told me he was coming back, and I knew exactly what Google on to find him. And I was in Maryland at the time, and I was guided right to this breeder in California. And I was like, and I looked through, and I was like, nope, 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 until I saw it. And I was like, that's him. And I was like, and I told my husband, we have to get this one. It has to be this one. And of course it worked out because it was meant to be. And the lady was like, oh yeah, he's available, whatever. So our animals can reincarnate. Absolutely. And they're doing that more and more, I think, than ever before. Not because you messed up and they're coming back, but because they want to be with us and they want to support us.
Oh, I know for sure when that WallE came right back, because he wanted to be with us again and to continue being with us. I have 2 cats, and one of my cats, he's my same boy that I had when I was 13. I looked in his eyes, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Quincy. And, Quincy was my baby, and I literally had a baby carriage. That's what he slept in every night in my room. And I mean, now Spot it's my daughter's cat, but if I'm feeling ill or if I'm feeling down, Spot is one that comes, and he needs on me anywhere. Yes.
Yeah. I love that. When my cat does that, I get so excited because I'm like, yes, give me a healing. And then they'll purr. And you just feel like, you close your eyes, you just feel that it's a free healing, like it's a good healing.
It absolutely is. And a nice massage too.
So one thing that we can get into is the metaphysical or the perceived animals that aren't real, like the majestic ones, like unicorns, Pegasus, dragons. The reason I wanted to bring up dragons is because my daughter has a dragon, and I see him a lot. And sometimes my husband has a dragon. I don't work with them, but I've seen 2 with my family, and I've several clients. Well, a good number of clients in the last couple of months have had fire dragons, or they're aerial dragons, or the different types. And I'm seeing more and more than I have ever seen. And so I wanted you to talk about maybe an experience you've had with anything like dragons or unicorns, or any other beings that might have come to you to protect you, give you messages, or through your clients.
Absolutely. So I love dragons. I work with dragons. Dragons will come in and aid me in some of my healing sessions. But my son has a dragon, and he's been with him since he was very young. And my son has drawn him many, many times. And I remember there was one time, I think he was 8 or 9, and he was over at breakfast, and he had just spent the whole night with his dragon, right? Out riding with his dragon. And he just had tears in his eyes. And he said, why can't he be here with me now? Like, why can't I just be in waking with him? And he said, my dragon, he asks me all the time to stay with him, come and be with me, because it's hard for both of them. So it goes both ways. The dragons want to be here with us as well in our reality, to physically be with us again. But for the time being, they're staying in that realm, and they're doing everything they can. They are assisting. If people only understood the level of assistance that dragons are doing for all of humanity right now, it would be amazing. I was just on the phone with Laura Van Tyne before we jumped on the show, and she was just discussing about how dragons are showing up in mass right now to help with clearings. I've had dragons. I was doing a massive clearing somewhere where there was a huge amount of loss of life, and they just volunteered. They just said, we'll help you clear them out. And these dragons, all of these just showed up, and they went down near this water edge where where the bodies had been dumped. And I started seeing all of these souls climbing up out of the water and jumping on the backs of these dragons. And they were saying, come on, we'll take you. And they're all just taking groups and crossing them over. And
that's incredible.
It is beautiful, breathtaking work to see it. I get very emotional when I connect deeply with them. And even just for me personally, my mother was in the hospital, and I was walking from the parking garage in by myself, and it was kind of a heavy day, but I'm walking, and then all of a sudden I felt the ground shake, like boom, 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 and I look over, and one of my huge dragons was right there. And he looked at me and said, "Did you think that you were going to do this alone?"
Oh,
And he walked all the way in, and he actually ended up aiding me in a healing session that day. So absolutely, my daughter had a unicorn for years and years and years as one of her guides.
yeah.
Absolutely, he would come and speak with her when she was younger. So very, very close. Our whole room was full of stuffed unicorns, but absolutely very.
Yeah. I feel like the thing about the unicorns for kids, like, if you've noticed, I'm sure most of you who have children have noticed, like, the increase of unicorn themed everything in the last, like, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, or maybe 10, I guess, than more than ever before. And I'm like, what is the deal with the unicorns? Like, what are they trying to manipulate us with? But I think they're trying, just like everything else, they try to fantasize it so that it couldn't possibly be real. So they insert this, oh, look at this fake unicorn, so that we think it's a joke. It's for kids, because they are very real. And same with dragons, things like that. With, like, the boys' clothing, there'll be dragons on it, and, like, to us, it's like, well, oh, those are fake. And I feel like that's on purpose.
Yeah, I whenever someone's questioning it, I always go back to, all of those imageries that are literally etched in stone. You have all of the dragon imagery actually throughout pretty much the whole world that they've seen in all of these old temples.
Yeah.
And then especially over in the British Isles, all the folklore all around that, etched in stone, etched in everything. Why would they do that if it was just one person completely made all of it up? Why would an entire culture go to the time and effort to make that part of their being? It has to be real.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, and I think that their way to combat that is to make these stories, and so that it's for kids. It's and, oh, mommy, unicorns aren't real. But if you ask a 5-year-old before, or a 6-year-old, or a young child before they've been programmed, they're like, yeah, mommy, they're real. Yeah, yeah. And the next thing you know, oh, they're not real. You know what I mean? So, like, it's like, oh, they got to you. You know what I mean? And that's something we deal with. But I believe that the interdimensional beings are really guiding us right now at full force. I've had a bunch of clients, that their children were very galactic and very multidimensional and astral traveling a lot, and they had Pegasus. I've seen a lot of Pegasus lately as well. I've seen Phoenix. I've seen so many things, and they're these massive, massive beings that are protecting these children.
Yeah.
They're mainly I see these with children clients, but I mean, I'm sure adults have them as well. But I see them in the astral realm, and they're literally 10 times bigger than the child. Metaphorically, I don't know if they're just trying to show me, or really, like, that's how massive they are. But they're like, this soul is protected, because where do our children get attacked? Where do we get attacked? A lot of times it's in the astral realm, because that's the easiest way for them to get to us, because they're like, well, it's too much work, and we might get in trouble if we attack you in your home, and there's too much paperwork. So we'll just get to well, when you go to sleep, we'll just meet you out there, and it's just crazy, like, playground of bullies and, like, all of these things. So these beings are like, I'm gonna protect you while you're out there.
Share a story. I went down to Mexico. It was for a wedding down there, but it was the second night that we were staying, and in the astral, I literally saw, it was 5 of them. It was like 2, 2, 1 right in the middle, and they looked at me, and all their eyes were solid black. They looked like humans, but solid black. And they said to me, we felt you the minute you stepped on this property. And I essentially went to battle that evening and woke up with a couple bruises, woke up not feeling great, very, very exhausted. And as I'm, walking to the bathroom, I happened to look out, and on our balcony is my son's dragon all curled up there.
Mm.
And he did not leave for the rest of our entire trip. He stayed on and I had the best sleep after that. I mean, I think that he had to must have come in and either aided me or saw what went down and said, all right, we're done now. And but no, he guarded the entire room for the remainder of our entire stay.
That's incredible. I love that example that you shared. And that just goes to show the power of the animal kingdom. And I shared this at the last Journey to Truth conference, and I actually ended up writing about the last book. I shared the story, and I've done a video about it. Calling upon the animal kingdom is one of the most powerful things you can do to protect you, especially when you're in a bind, but also just regularly. I call on the animal kingdom literally every single day to continue to protect me in all dimensions, because we overlap. We have parallel realities, and I'm like in all dimensions, time and space, in this physical, in the astral. And I can feel them and sense them. I know they're there. I can't tell you how many people have emailed me since I've talked about those things or they read my book, that part of the book, and they're like, I can't believe it worked. It worked. Oh my God, it worked. And thank you so much. And I'm like, why don't more people know about this? Like we could call on them to protect us just the same as like calling on the angels. Yeah. But they're powerful because this is their domain. Like this is the planet. I mean, they're here. Like they will guide and protect us in a very powerful way.
I think it's really important to learn your spirit animal team. Yeah. That helps me out a lot. We all kind of have that power animal, right? But then there is a team of additional animals that come in and can aid you in different ways. But just like our guides and angels, they can't really come in until we ask them, right? So often we forget to make the ask. I'll give an example. I was at a sound bath, and it was downtown Charleston, and it was packed with people. Over like 45 people showed up to it. It was my friend doing it. And I'm laying there, and usually I just go and have this beautiful journey. Well, I couldn't go under. My mind kept moving. And so I keep like, why can't I go under? What's going on? And the minute I asked what's going on, boom. So my main power animal is a cougar, and he lives in my solar plexus. Like he literally curls up in there, and that's where he remains. But when I looked down, he was fully stretched, literally covering all of my chakras, and his head was nestled into my neck. And all he said was, "Don't worry, I've got you."
Oh, wow.
So once I heard that, I'm like, okay, what's going on? So then I could key in, and I saw this almost like a spell wafting in the air. And in my mind's eye, I could see exactly who it was. All the way in this back corner, this man had shown up in this black hoodie, and I saw him just laying there, and he was just whispering out. I don't know what he was whispering out, but it was just wafting this dark magic in the air. And as I'm keying into this, boom, one of my dragons landed, and he looked at me. He goes, "I've got it." And he's like, boom, boom, boom. And he goes all the way to the back and goes in this man's face and just goes, like just with this.
I could totally visualize that too.
And then as he's doing that, he lightly flapped his wings, and you could see the spell just dissipate in the air, and it just went out. And so it was so interesting. And when we got done with the sound bath, my friend, when she was done, she looked around and she goes, "Well, that was some interesting energy." So she was definitely feeling the distortion. And so I talked with her afterwards, and I was giving her, and what happened. And she said, "Was it the guy in the black hoodie that showed up?"
Oh, yeah.
And I go, "Yep." And she goes, "Yep." She's like, "Yep, I'm banning him from now on." She said, "He's always giving me the creeps." So, yeah.
Crazy.
That's how our animal kingdom shows up, and they help us, and they guard us.
Yeah. And you hear stories where people will say like they saw a panther in the window, or the neighbors are like, "I saw a panther in the window." And they actually like they could see that spirit animal manifest in this physical way. And it's funny that they're able to tap into it. So Abby, so we know here that the nature of our reality right now and everything we're going through, and the ups, the downs, the uncertainties, the frustrations, our animals are in a heightened state of like alert for us.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, or as a result of that, they are struggling in their own ways. And that's why I really wanted to do this. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the ways that we can help our animals cope, because they're not going to stop. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm never, they'll never forgive themselves because their animal died for them. And I'm like, no, like this is what they did for a reason, and do your best to make changes and work on yourself so that it doesn't go in vain. What are some ways that we can help them cope right now? What are some of your suggestions to help them navigate in the same way that we're navigating? What are things that we can do for them?
The best answer for that is, and people are right, and you're never going to stop your animals. They are 100% here for service to you, service to others. They don't have a concept, really, honestly, our domesticated pets, of service to self. My best response to that is they are doing really, really big work for us all during the evening and during the day. If you can key in as best as you can, emotionally key in to see what they are needing, what brings them joy, how do they refill their batteries? Like, I'll give you, for instance, Luna, she loves her car ride. I absolutely loves her car ride. And I had told her in the morning, I didn't take her in the morning. I said, don't worry, I'll get you your car ride, before the evening, before the day's over. And she was just kind of depressed throughout the whole day because I kept coming and going, and she was seeing that I hadn't been there yet. So it was literally 8:45 at night, and I picked her up and grabbed her, and I just drove around my neighborhood and just let her have her head out the window. So I think it's just bringing in those small things that we can do when we know this is what they love. This is what recharges their batteries. Just like us, and you were mentioning earlier, it's really good for them to get out in the sunlight. Let them go out and be in the dirt, be in nature, because that fills their body up as well. And it also cleanses. When my dogs or animals are sleeping, I'll come and I'll do Reiki on them. Like, I have Luna right here. And if she's sleeping, I'll just do some Reiki on her, just do some energy and feeling it. Even though sometimes they'll wake up and they'll give me a little side eye, like, what are you doing? Like, I can feel that.
Yeah. They're like, yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably the best answer that I can give, is just finding ways to help them fill their batteries.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a trick question. It's the simple things. I think people tend to overthink. It's really like, what is your animal like? My Doberman, his favorite thing is when me or my husband, mainly one of us, take a moment to lay on the couch, and his favorite thing to do, and he's like almost 100 pounds, is lay on top of us. Oh, and like I have to nudge him over so I could breathe, but like his is the best sleep he gets. I'm talking like body twitching, like heavy breathing, snoring, is when he can be on us, and because he knows they're safe, I can chill, and I'm at peace. That is like the best drug for him. Whereas Luna is like, nah, she'll walk around because she's a golden retriever with her tennis ball in her mouth, and she'll come to me with the ball in her mouth, and then I'm like, you want to play ball? And she goes crazy, and we throw the ball. And even if I have no time, and my appointments generally are back to back when I'm working during the day, but if I just give like if I have like a good 5-10 minutes, I run downstairs. If I throw that ball 3 times, I swear she's happy for like the next 3 hours. She's like, all right, I'm good now. Like, it's like this, the simple things. My cat likes to be outside. He's like a reptile. He wants to be in the sun all day. And so I let him out, and like, that's his happy place. And so just remembering to give them the little things. It's the little things that matter, I think, a lot. And some of the ways, and you can tell me how Luna and Gus do this for you in your home, but animals have their ways of coping just like we do. So so it's not always a scary thing. Like, if your animal is a suckler and they'll come up and suck on your arm or your belly or something like that, that's like a pacifier. That's like a coping mechanism for them. So it's okay, to let them do those things. Or if they seem to be a little bit more tired than usual, doesn't always mean that they're sick. Maybe they're doing a lot and their body needs to recharge just like we do. So sometimes and I wonder if you're noticing this, with my client, not my pets, they're ravenous, but some of my clients, their dogs, just like us, some people are eating less food. And I've noticed with dogs, they might be drinking a little bit more, or they drink the water, but like they're not as hungry.
Yeah.
They're not sick. They've had their checkups. Everything's fine. They're just, their bodies are changing, just like ours are adapting. So they might be more hungry. They might be less hungry. So they might feel like they need a little bit more attention than usual.
Yeah.
There's a reason for it. Maybe you need more attention. So they're trying to show you, hey, you need this. Let me give this to you. So I think it's just being in tune with your pets and just knowing who they are and their personality and what's normal for them and what's not normal. What are some of the things that your pets do?
Well, I want to, just bring in and like, keying in. And one thing I've noticed, we've been having all of these massive solar flares coming in, right? And we can see how does that affect our bodies? We're more dehydrated and we're more tired. We need more electrolytes and some of those minerals. So I've noticed all of my animals across the board are drinking much more water.
Yeah.
And so it's a little harder with cats, but especially for my dogs. I mean, I cook my own food for my pets, for the doggies. And I have been giving them some more fruit just to get some more like the vitamins in that way. And just the citrus seems to help them. They love apples. So I've been giving them more apples.
Yeah.
And so I try to see like, how am I feeling? Where am I feeling depleted? They're probably being a little more depleted in that as well. So I try to compensate for that as well, because they're feeling all of this as well. Yeah. And taking on all of our stuff as well. Well, so Gus, she still is very much a very young mind, very child. So she has this little teeny tiny little yellow ball, but it makes her happy to bring the ball and just curl up on the couch next to me, but she doesn't want me to toss it. She doesn't want me to throw it. She just wants to like suck on it. She will just like suck on that little ball, almost like it's a pacifier for her. And so yeah, I'll just let her do that and just rub her little belly while she's doing that, and it just lulls her right to sleep, and it makes her so happy. Luna will just stretch out by the end of the couch and just pass out, but Luna will come to us and you can just hear it clear as day. I'm ready to go to bed. Yeah. Like she's ready. Like she's almost like, can we go to bed now, please? And so we pick her up and carry her to bed. Yeah, they're more tired. They're sleeping a lot more than usual. So yeah.
And also on an kind of on the astral, they are protecting us too. So they're also doing a lot, just like a lot of us are when we're sleeping. We're doing a lot, like they're doing a lot during that time as well. And I had a client recently that had a German Shepherd that was only, I can't remember exactly her age, but maybe 3. And she like got sick and died really quickly. And I was trying to tap in to see like, how did this happen? Like what was going on here? And what I saw was this massive attack on the family. And there was a lot of energy circulating. And this dog, being a German Shepherd, like any working dog, was like just consistently making circles around the property, and she was constantly clearing, and there was some sort of attack. I don't know if it was bioweapon or like technology that came, and they were going to like zap one of the family members or something and there was an immediate threat on the family, and this German Shepherd somehow intersected, and it was almost like getting struck by lightning. And this dog saved their life by dying suddenly like that, and took, yeah, it was crazy. I was like, oh my God. Now, did that make the owner feel any better after telling them that? No, of course they felt awful. Oh my God, it's my fault. But I said, listen, we gotta release that feeling of guilt, because thank God that animal was there. Because did you want one of you guys to be gone instead? Of course the answer is no. And they will just regenerate and come right back. It's, you know what I mean? Like they don't endure the traumas like we do. They see the threat, they make that choice on a soul level. I'm taking this, and I'm taking this, I'm exiting out, and I'm taking this with me. Yeah. It's kind of have the ability to do that.
They are happy to do it. That is fulfilling their purpose for you. Yeah. And so no one should ever take on that burden or feel bad for that, because that animal, and when you look at it as well, in terms of their own soul growth, look at that. They were completely selfless.
Yes.
And look at that expansion for that soul that they did that. So, you know, I always just say, like, just release that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, and a lot of these animals are in our life to show us unconditional love, like that we have not felt. Like maybe we've had lifetimes of abandonment and betrayal, and our heart chakras are really closed off. And these animals come and they're like, "Let me in, let me nudge you, let me in," and they show us so much. I mean, that's why I love animals so much. Like I would prefer to be with an animal 9 times out of 10 instead of a person. No offense to people, but they just give off a specific frequency that is just so intoxicating in a beautiful way. Like it's this beautiful energy of just love and nothing else. No judgment, nothing.
Nothing.
And it's just pure. It's just
Yeah.
pure.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of animals are in our lives to show us that, because we need to open up and we need to feel what it's like to have that love and support. What do you think?
My oldest daughter actually had an interesting thought, because she and I were just having a discussion one day. And I said, what do you think about the souls that choose to come in to be the animals of healers? Because look at you and I mean, we're able to communicate with them. We can hear their wants and needs. We're doing energy healing on them and, cooking food for them, providing them with this amazing life. We're holding them all the time. And I said, what do you think about the animal souls that choose to come into the homes of healers? And my daughter said, sometimes I wonder if they might have been a severely abused child and maybe they passed away from that abuse. And so they don't trust coming back to humans yet, because they don't trust being held by the human hands. So they come in as a pet to start as a soul to build up that trust again. And so they come to healers, because we're literally healing that pet as well, that whole life. And they're also learning how to trust being held and touched from a human again. I just thought it was a very interesting.
That is so incredibly insightful and very wise. And I had a client once that she was in the animal business. She was a vet tech, and she rescues animals her whole life. She's retired, and she would always rescue the underdog, the one that no one else would adopt, the 3-legged dogs, the ones with missing an eye, the ones that like no one ever wanted. Throughout her whole life, up until that point, she had probably 15, maybe even 20 dogs, because sometimes she would just have them for a brief period, and they would put before to give them nice end of life care. And that's the message that I got. It wasn't exactly like that, but she had a soul contract to help those that went through severe trauma, that chose to come in and feel love, like a very gentle love again, and in the form of an animal, to basically trust and work up to that. And your daughter picked up on that, and that's so wise that she was able to come up with that on her own, without, like, I came up with that because I was told in a session. I didn't come up with that on my own. Like, that is such a beautiful example of how incredible our children are that are coming in, how much more wise and advanced they are than we are.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. They see things with a little bit of a broader dimensional lens. Let's call it that.
Yeah. One last thing I want to talk about too, and a big question I always get is, how can I communicate with my pet? And I'm like, trust me, you are more than you realize. What are some of your tips to help people identify, one, that they are communicating telepathically and subtly more than they realize, but what are some of your tips that you could give people?
What I like to do, because I always just recommend, this is what I do with my own animals.
Okay.
Is Luna's looking at me right now. I it's almost you melt into their eyes, right? So slow down your mind and make your mind as clear as you can make it. And you're almost just coming down to that calm level with them, and you're melting into their energy. And then you, as a human, pay attention Are there any images that slowly come in? Is there any word that you almost slowly, it's like you hear it or you feel a word coming in? Because that's how they will begin to communicate with you. It is. It's so, I mean, I think so often our minds are like, you know, they're moving. So if you can just, whenever I'm wanting to really talk with them, it's like I clear slate my mind. And then I really look into their eyes, into their energy. It's almost like I'm coming into their whole energy field. And then I
Yeah.
can see what it just floats in like this. And then that's how you can build. And you know, and I have tried both sending images to them and then just using my voice. And it's interesting. The voice tends to work a little bit more, you know, when I'm talking with them, but absolutely I have sent them images and
Yeah.
they will go and do something.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. I've taken a bunch of classes in the past when I was younger, and I would try all these things, and then I'd like send an image to my dog, or I'd be like, "Come upstairs," like my German Shepherd, and then she wouldn't come, and I'm like, "What the heck? This is not working." You know, like this isn't working for me.
No.
Upstairs, but I had to, you know, there's a growth period, you know, and maybe she didn't want to go upstairs. Maybe she was comfortable where she was. I mean, there's lots of reasons. But my biggest tip for people too is you don't have to necessarily communicate face to face. Like you don't have to like necessarily be with them. Like a lot of times when I communicate, I am basically bringing myself to the state of relaxation where I'm tuning into the telepathic communication with my pet or someone else's, and they're not even in the room. They may not even be next to me, but I put myself in a space where I can tune in, feel the pressure of looking at them, because I feel more distracted if I'm looking at them in the physical and they're wagging their tail and I'm petting them. Like for some, I have a harder time concentrating that way. But but that doesn't mean that's the only way. That's how I. So there's a million and two ways to communicate. But my biggest advice to people is just like a mom who has a nonverbal child, or a mom or a dad that has a baby that can't speak yet. No. We are communicating. You are communicating way more than you realize. It's coming through as your own thoughts, and you're just not discerning the difference. But I can guarantee you are communicating with your pet just by like, oh, you just have this knowing. I think they might need to go to the bathroom. Let me go downstairs, or something as simple as that. You are communicating. It's just not going to be an HD quality where you think like it's in a movie where it's Dr. Dolittle, you know, and he's having a conversation back and forth. It doesn't really work like that.
Yeah, no, no, it doesn't. It does not. I will attest. You said about this earlier. Cats are total a-holes. I love them. I mean, I love my cats, but they are so blunt.
Yeah.
So especially, so my oldest daughter, we have two cats, and the other one is, you know, his name is Frankie. And Frank will just look at you and be like, no. Like, it's just, I walked into her room because I had laundry, and I was just walking in, and he was on her bed. She was at school, and he just looked at me. He goes, no. Like, he did not even want me to enter into the room. And he was just disturbed. Yeah, I mean, they just are.
Cats make me laugh more than any other. You know that song, sometimes it feels like somebody's watching me. You know, we have a joke in our house that my cat Loki, because he's a Sphinx, so he doesn't have hair and he looks very majestic. He's like black, green eyes, and he stands there and we're like, he's judging us. You know, he looks, and he'll be like at the top of the stairs, and we'll look up and he's just staring at us. Or my kids love to pile on my bed behind me. We have a king size bed, and they'll all jump. I mean, even when Jordan, my oldest 20-year-old kid, we're all piling on the bed. I don't even know how we're fitting. We're falling off. And then the dogs try to jump up there. And then Loki is at the front, at the door, looking at us. And he's just giving this, like, I feel like he's like, you peasants, like he's judging. I feel like I'm being judged, you know?
Always. You are.
Cats, they're like, what's wrong with these imbeciles, you know? Like, ugh, gross, you know?
They truly are. You are totally being judged. They love you, but you're totally being judged.
Yeah, I feel like they're like astral for a reason. You know, they're like, let me protect the house. I'll usher out the bad beings and the whatever, I'll protect. But there are, of course we're joking, but there are cats out there that are the most loving kind, and you're like, oh, my cat's like a dog. Okay, like it's not 100%, but a majority of the time cats are very like, snooty.
Yeah, they are. No, I mean, our cats are so loving, and I do. My daughter is actually this was years ago, and she kind of caught him. He was just sitting up on her bed, and he was looking down at his paws. And my daughter can tap in, and she's very telepathic, and he's looking down his paws. And so she just kind of keyed in because she wanted to know what he was thinking. And he was thinking to himself, I really miss my shoes. I really miss wearing my shoes. And she could see the image of the shoes he used to wear. And then that filled in, and she could see who he was in a prior life. And she has gotten so much information to the point where we have actually tested it with him. So there was a portion that he's very Italian. And I actually had one of my friends come over. She was a medium, but she's part Italian. And so she speaks the language. And he was kind of doing his own thing. And she started saying some curse words because he was not a very nice human in Italian. And he went, and he just looked at her every time that she would say a curse word in Italian. It was hilarious. We have done so many different tests just to validate the information, and it has always been spot on. He has always reacted to it.
That is so crazy. Okay, so that story brings up a good point. Everybody knows or has had one of those animals that you're like, that is not a dog, that is not a cat. Like they are not enjoying their stay in their meat suit. And I had one of those dogs, and one of my greatest teachers was a dog that I had I don't even know how many years ago, 15 years ago. And her name was Shiloh. She did not want to be a dog. It was clear to everyone she didn't like being a dog. She wouldn't do anything a normal dog would do. She wouldn't even go outside in the rain. She wanted to be in the house with us. She didn't want to play catch. If you threw something at her, like to eat, she would just look at us like, like that, or can you put it down for me? Like total, like, not. And when I really tapped into her, she said, I'm here for you and you're learning, because that was around the time I learned Reiki. And I practiced on her, and she taught me so many amazing things. And she was like, I'm here for you. This is a one-time thing. I'm here. I'm a supporter of yours. I'm one of your guides. And like, she was very like specific. So my point is, there are a lot of people who have these pets that they're there for you. They haven't been an animal. Everyone, it's clear what animals have been animals before and what happened, those that haven't. And they don't necessarily like it. But again, they're selfless, and they're doing it to be with you and maybe relate more to being human. And that is a perfect example of somebody relating more to being a person, a human.
Well, so our cat, Frankie, that was not his original name for years and years. But the more she learned and really validated who he was, we changed his name because his name was Frank. We found him. That's how much information came through. And so the minute she found that, she was like, Frank, and he looked. And so we changed his name to Frank. And Frankie, that's who he is.
That's so cool.
She's worked through. We understand why he is having this experience.
That's crazy. Well, and I just wanted to put this comment up here because I don't know, Rosalie, if you had seen the beginning of my talk today, but you can absolutely reincarnate from human to animal or companion animal and back and forth. It's our souls really have the option to choose what it is that we want to do. And there are reasons why a human would want to be an animal in another life, to be the companion to somebody that they are connected with. So that can happen. So someone said that. It doesn't mean that person was necessarily wrong. They just are working through off the information that they have, and they're knowing nobody's necessarily right or wrong. But this is what I've learned through my sessions that can absolutely happen. So I just wanted
and I wanted to add, it's off topic, but you were saying right before I jumped on into the show, how our pets can come from different, they can be Andromeda beings or LYNN beings, and they can come in here. I've often been asked, and I just wanted to say here, there are pets on crafts.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And I've seen two of them. And one was one of my pets. And but yes, there are pets on other planets and on Craft.
Yeah, it's not as common, I will say, that when I do sessions with people and I communicate with their guides or their higher selves, I'm told frequently they don't have domesticated animals where we come from. This is unique to you guys in very few places, because they really only come to planets where the beings need the support and companionship.
Yeah.
That higher density beings don't necessarily require that. Like they coexist with animals, right? And they have this harmony between, and they communicate telepathically, and they wouldn't dare like call this cat their own and put it in their home, for example. But there are a lot of places that don't resonate with the idea of companion animals, but there are other places, and they definitely are on ships, because I've seen them. And the dogs and cat, they're happy to be there too. Like they are loving being up in those ships as well. So it kind of goes both ways. So I'm glad you said that, because that would have been that's a great question that I know I've been asked before.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else, Abby, that you think that is relevant for the tone of the conversation tonight? Like what are our animals trying to tell us right now? Like, is there anything that you're getting repeatedly through sessions, or just your communication with beings on your own time, or your own guides, that they're trying to tell us right now?
The animal kingdom has been very, very active lately in providing messages. Even just, like a dragonfly showed up, a butterfly showed up, a hawk flew in. So the messages coming in and the sightings have been rapid for so many people. We're just keying in and noticing. And the overall message has been just remember who you are, keep going, remember you're loved and supported. It's the same. These are all very simple, basic messages that we already know, but it's like they're trying to come in to constantly remind us, because I think that, I don't know, I'm hearing the word bifurcation. Like there's a bifurcation going on, and we're feeling this, and it's almost like we're having moments where we feel completely disconnected, completely disassociated, and then way too connected, and really in here. And so there's these gentle reminders coming in to just keep going. Know that you're supported. Know that we're here for you. That's probably the overwhelming message. And then just my animals, they have been on me physically constantly on me. I mean, it is, I have wanted to post so many pictures, because the minute I lay down on the couch,
Like a magnet.
they're a magnet, and it's ridiculous. But but I take it, absolutely. I take it as a massive blessing that they're willing to do that. But it is very I'm doing a lot of work. I'm doing, you're doing a lot of work. We're doing a lot of work. And but they have absolutely wanted to stay extremely close to all of us and just allow them to be, because that's how they're serving us.
I agree, absolutely. And if your animal is a little bit more clingy than usual, there's a reason for it. They're not being a pain in the butt. They're not trying to be a pain. They're just, they're just trying to heal us, support us, be with us as much as possible, because they know we need it, because they know we are knee deep in this 3D, and we all have jobs that bring us outside of the home or the grocery store or whenever we are just constantly bombarded with entities, energies, conflict, all of this stuff. And they're just like, man, you just, like they probably look at us like we come home and like the kids from the park and we're like, man, the kids are dirty. Like, go take a bath, like you go wash your hands. They're like, oh my God. And their way of doing that is, okay, I'm going to cling to you. I'm going to lick you. I'm going to lay next to you. I'm going to put my paw on you. I'm going to purr. I'm going to knead the dough. Because those are their ways of cleaning you. So they're clinging for a reason. And they are doing a lot. And so they're just trying to, like you said, they're trying to remind us of who we are, not to give up. And the number one thing I get is, please tell him, they're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone. You're not alone. Even if you feel alone, even if I'm all that you have, you're still not alone, and that I get a lot. So
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, Abby, this has been really fun. I'm so glad that you joined in, and I hope that this has been enjoyable and educational and informative for those of you watching now live, and then those of you that will watch the replay. Um, any last words, Abby, or anything else you want to close up the night with?
I just want to say thank you for hosting this show. I'm like you. If I go to someone's house, if there's a house party, I'm gonna be in the front den by like with their dog, sitting by myself, like petting with. That's just, I went to someone's house a month ago they were doing a session on me, and they had this cute little Havapoo, and they had to remind me on 4 occasions to stop playing with their dog. I was there for a session and to let them work. I'm like, but your dog is so cute. His name was Oliver. And but that's just I could be with animals all day long. That's
me too.
Yeah.
I have such a love for them that it's undeniable and immeasurable. And I think many people do. So we want, and because of that, I feel that inclined to do this, because of course we naturally worry about our pets. Are we doing the right thing? Are we feeding them the right? Are we protecting them? Are we? We have all these questions. And so that's kind of why I wanted to do this tonight, to help people have, release the guilt, release the shame, and understand what a lot of these elements that I've talked about tonight, you've talked about and shared, so that maybe they can feel like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It'll let me relax a little bit. And the best thing we can do for our animal companions is to work on ourselves, so that they don't have to work so hard. That's it. That's really all it is. And they can have these ascension symptoms like us, but in a different way. And so their bodies are going to hurt. Their bodies are going to be off a little bit. Just, we got to nurture them in a similar way than we would ourselves. And so that's the theme tonight. So thank you guys for joining us. It's been such a blast. Hopefully, maybe we'll do another one at some point, and we'll have a different theme.
Yeah, I love that. I was one of Primal Cry meant her comment. I can't imagine navigating life without them, and I'm the same. I cannot imagine it. They have to. I always need animals around me.
I mean, I say that too. Like, animals make life so much better. Like, without them, like if I didn't come home, and sometimes I complain like, oh, Venom, like the dog, like the Doberman, like literally he's like up my butt, like following me up the stairs, and I'm tripping, and I'm just like, but it's like I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, they make everything so much better.
And this memory, it's really popping in heavy because it's come in 3 times now, and so I do want to share this. There has been over the past, I would say 18 months, 2 years, it seems like there is a higher than normal passing of a lot of people's pets recently as well. People have been really noticed there's a high accurate, So the best I can share is experience that I had. We had to, my big Mastiff, we had to put her down. She also had cancer, but she was almost 12 years old, which is very old for a Mastiff.
Yeah.
We're usually lucky to get 8 years out of a Mastiff. So we were very blessed, but you still struggle. Is it the right thing to put them down? Should I just, we put her down. Thank goodness we are able to do it in our home. And I was just sitting there petting her, and it is about 2 minutes and she had passed. And I saw her energy just come out of her body. It was this beautiful yellowish orange. And she just came up and she looked at me and she went, because she had gone blind and deaf and all the things for months and months. And she looked at me, she goes, I feel so good. I feel so good. I mean, and she was just pure. And so, like, imagine this big bumbling Mastiff. She used to go in circles and dance around, and like she never knew how big she was. And so she would bang into the cabinets when she was doing this. And she immediately started she started dancing around. And then she stopped and she looked at me and she said, I'm so good. And she went and just ran down my hallway and out.
Oh,
and so if I can leave anyone with that image, they're good. They're good, guys. So it's so hard on us. It's always harder on the living when our loved ones pass. But just know that they're good and that they are holding space and protecting us from that side now. And if they can come back to us, they will come back to us.
Absolutely, they will. Thank you for saying that. That's a really important thing to mention, because a lot of people's pets have passed, and it's traumatizing a lot of people. I know so many people back to back that have lost their animals recently in the last year, but for reasons of everything that we've mentioned tonight and more, they are helping us ascend and evolve. And some of them are crossing over in order to do that. That's their piece, that's their role, that's how they're assisting us. And it's just so beautiful that they're willing to do that for us. So thank you for bringing that up, because that is so important. I'm so glad you said that. So that is a perfect way to end tonight. So everybody, end tonight with the visual of her beautiful Mastiff running down the hallway and free and thanking you. I'm sure, like, thank you. I feel free now. And imagine all of your animals as they cross over, have a similar experience, and they are free. And think of them and visualize them in that way. Yeah. And then you have the, you take your time to grieve. We totally have that right to do, but release the guilt, any guilt, release the guilt. Yeah. Perfect way to end. All right, everybody. I hope that this conversation tonight has found all of you well. And thank you so much for joining. And until next time, have a good night, everybody. Bye.
Good night, guys.